Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we're going to be taking a look at all of the individual choreographies that were up for grabs for the Smoke Challenge. Now we know that BADA's choreo was the one chosen and she ended up being selected as main dancer, but I have not seen what the other 7 brought to the table as leaders. So we're going to take a look, kind of analyze through them, and I'm gonna kind of see if I would have made the same choice of choosing BADA or if I would have gone with somebody else. So let's go ahead and take a watch. Okay. Okay, so going back to that one, I believe that looked like Wolflow, right? Just taking a look here. I will say hers overall was pretty simplistic in when you think about the timing. I like the setup where she drops down. I do like the so she carried the tension of that sound of, you know, of the sound of it. What's it called? Goodness, the lighter. Like she carried that well in a different way, but notice that she kind of rides the rhythm here. 3, 4. So it's just this very simple 3, 4 with her rock and bounce. Love her pocket, but very simple. A little too simple, even if it's considered a challenge, you know, like a TikTok challenge or viral social media challenge. I feel that this is more, it feels, it's not riding the musicality on all the options that you can hit in comparison to what we saw from BADA. And even here having the repeat there are other things happening in the tone that I feel like we could have played around with. Yeah, so I would say there's too many repetitive grooves and there's not enough diversity within the rock and the bounce too, with the pocket. Even there, I like that part. It was just doing the imagery of wordplay with the smoke. I like that. Yeah, so I would say overall, but with Wolflow, I've just said from the get-go that they are not known as choreographers, and I think they're fine with that. Do I think that her choreo, I think it was pretty decent, but do I think it was competitive? I would say it would probably, I do expect it to be more on the lower tier of who they would have chosen. I don't believe anyone would have chosen that one out of all 8. At least for me, I probably wouldn't have chosen it, but that doesn't mean it wasn't good. Like, I did like it, but for the context of the challenge, I just feel like it was a little too simple for what was being asked criteria-wise for when you're looking for a main dancer. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look here. This is our second dancer. Lady bounce, right? Okay. I like how she hit that boom, boom, boom. Okay, so looking through that one, I did enjoy that one. That was pretty good. When you take a look here, though, there were some moments that I think the setup's really important whenever you do a song like this in the context of what this is. Because remember, we do know that part of this challenge, because I know Hey Mama from the last Street Woman Fighter, like the dance rank mission is really like the viral part of the mission, like viral part of the show, where you have the routine is probably a sense of representation, especially from the leaders. It's the representation of the show's season. It just ends up being that way. Do I agree with it? I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I would say, like, you know, who is picked for the choreo, like the choreo itself, I think it is important to note that you want it has to hit a certain way. There's a certain pocket that has to be hit. It has to match really well. The things that you do need to make it stand out and make it distinguishable, you know, and I think that's a really big thing here. I like that she starts, you know, backs it up. like just like chilling out, you know, so it's nice. I like her wordplay there. 2, 3. Now I think it's interesting that she chose to row the rhythm, double and then into the double and then she does a single. I think it's interesting she wrote it differently than the rhythm, so she kind of made her own rhythm in and of that, like a sub rhythm, which I really liked. 3 and 4 and yeah, so 1 and 2 and 3 and boom boom. Yeah, so yeah, I like how she hit that boom boom boom. I think it's the first one. I mean, of course I've only 3 deep, even though I'm including BADAs. That's the first time I'm actually hearing that bass doom 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 because of the choreography, which I really like. Yeah, do I think that she's not really using this part as much as she could? Like at least the levels, not really the smooth legato-ness of it, but I would say she's not using that rock as much as we were seeing from Wolflow. Yeah, it feels a bit restricted just there. Yeah, feels very midline, and I feel like we gotta have a little bit more variety there. Yeah, and also I feel like she approached things from both sides versus making it a little bit dense to where you're not overly repeating something on both sides. So that's just my preference whenever I do look at viral pieces. I feel that it would work better if when you choose to repeat something, it makes sense with the music, which I think she did there. It's like, smoke you water, I'ma smoke you. Then he says it again. And so like doing something like that, I think really does help, but you don't want to do that too much, especially if the repetitiveness doesn't also come into play. Like it's not, it brings the quality or like the complexity down, I think. Not quality, the complexity of what you're bringing to the table down, which you do want it to be complex in some nature, but not where it's like what in the world, you know? Because it needs to be, you have to find a middle ground where it can't look so much like you that other people can't replicate, because they are not going to want to pick it, but also you want it to be replicable but still look like you. It's a really interesting balance that is tricky. So all in all though, I did like her. So if we're gonna like rank these, I would say right now, so Wolflow was probably at my bottom as of right now, but I still got a few more to watch, and I would say LADYBOUNCE is right above that. Okay, so this is MANNEQUEEN. Here we go. Take a little watch. So she's really trying to so she was hitting that beginning, like really choreographing that beginning. In comparison to other people, normally people just give you your own vibe. So I thought that was interesting. Okay, so when we take a look here at what she did, I do feel like a lot of it was just content more so. It didn't capture my attention as much. I know she was trying to hit that boom dun dun dun. I know what she was trying to hit, but do I feel that for this type of challenge, you have to be very wary of those types of choices whenever you're trying to capture somebody's attention with intricacy. Normally there's a time and place for that. Do I think that this is the place to try to push choreo this intricate? Not necessarily. I would say what makes it intricate is not necessarily the content, but the timing and how quick it happens from the onset of the beginning of the song. Because remember, whenever you have a song, normally it starts out, you have your intro, and you want to set the tone. Now, if it was more simple, I think that it would have helped set the tone a little bit better, but here it really feels a little too dense for an intro. Also, I don't feel she's super stable on her feet as she demonstrates either. And she's also making disconnected choices. So normally whenever you have that and then she drops, it's just a lot of those, there are a lot of moves, and I feel like the transition's neglected a little bit here. Not saying that it's bad, I'm just saying that it's not as cohesive as what you need for a viral routine, because that's just what this is. It's a viral routine. You're competing your viral choreo with each other, and this doesn't scream virality. This screams like choreography in a studio. But also I can tell this isn't her genre of music she performs to, because look at her pocket. Like, she's not using her upper torso at all. You know, I think she is whenever it's more of a femme move, but in like the general groove, rock and bounce, she's not using her carriage nearly as effectively as she could. Smoke you water, I'ma smoke you water. Like, I like that moment. That was nice, and that was fun there. But when you just look here, it just feels like the movements don't really connect, and it doesn't tell a story or doesn't really tell the song as effectively as it could. Yeah. And yeah. So all in all, I feel like that one, I think I like some of her choices, but I would say my dancer from LADYBOUNCE, I think hers, if I'm ranking them, I would put MANNEQUEEN above WOLFFLOW, but under LADYBOUNCE as of right now. And remember, this is just my opinion. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day because only one got picked and it was BADA's, and BADA's looked really cool. So, but right now there's no choreo that I would have picked over hers as of at this point. But we're gonna take a look here. Ooh. Ooh, I like this. Yeah. That was strong. I really liked that one. That one was cool. I'm assuming is that AKANEN from TSUBAKILL? I don't have her tag, so here's the thing, I'm still trying to remember who's with which crew. Yeah, so I'm gonna assume she's, when I think about who all's gone and who the leaders are, I think this is TSUBAKILL AKANEN, right? Like, this is what I'm talking about when you want something simple. So like they're riding just the tones, they're sending the tone, and she's still hitting that sound, but it's not overkill in content. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's definitely easy to catch that sound in comparison to trying to catch the sound with an interest, like with a polyrhythmic. Like, you don't want to go polyrhythmic in the beginning. You can make it polyrhythmic near the middle, but you really don't want to set it off that way because you're not really setting off your audience as successfully here if you want people to learn it. I like that. And then she goes, oh, like she still has personality. Like, presence in telling the story or you're telling the song really helps because the dance is a representation of your song, right? Yeah. I do like her movement. I like her pocket. I like hitting the basses and the bounce, but I will say that beginning was really nice. But also notice that with her torso, she's not really, like, there is a sense of disconnect between her arms and her body. And that's just something that happens a lot of times whenever you are trying to crank out choreo in a quick manner. Or if it's a song that's not really your genre that you normally explore. That's kind of like what ends up happening sometimes. I will say she's also exploring similar pockets of her grooves that can be deemed pretty confusing whenever you're learning choreo. Like for me, at this point in time, I just learned Woman, Wu Tae's choreography. I just did like a little excerpt of it because I loved it so much. And I enjoyed it, but one of the things that I had to work through was certain grooves were very similar, so I had to really analyze and figure out what was he doing differently with one leg groove versus another groove so I could best emulate how he does it best. That was the challenge I made for myself. So here, like, that can run into a problem, because remember, Wu Tae choreographed for Street Woman Fighter. He didn't choreograph for, like, a viral challenge. Like, it's not the woman challenge, right? It's not like the smoke challenge. So he choreographed for the scope of who he was choreographing for. For here, they knew this may possibly blow up like Hey Mama did. So you gotta have that balance of you want some things that are noticeable about it, but also you want some things that are obtainable to do, but not overly simple. It's like I've already mentioned, it's a really big thing. And guys, I'm so silly. Guys, look. Ready? I know enough Korean. I didn't even see that. TSUBAKILL AKANEN, so it is. I'm glad that I'm able to recognize them without knowing, like looking up here. But man, sometimes I just catch on to things way too late because I'm looking at something so in focus. But anyway, back to this. That's just my overall note. I like her choices, like that boom, like how she hits the beats are really great, but I can see why they didn't pick her, because some of her grooves were a little bit too similar, if that makes sense. But I did like it. I would say out of the ones I've seen, I mean, that one was pretty good. So I would put TSUBAKILL at the top right now, because I haven't technically seen BADA do hers in this video, so I don't quite have that ranked yet, but I would still put BADA's above everybody else's right now. I would say Leah Kim's going through the same thing that MANNEQUEEN did. That beginning was a little too simple. Yeah, I feel like this one has some disconnect between the transitions. It feels like we're stopping. Like we do a move and we stop and we wait for the next phrase to start. I think that's my biggest note for this one. And also she set hers up pretty, I'll say she set it up pretty complicated for a viral track, in my opinion. Yeah, so she goes doo-doo-doo, like you have to catch it immediately, you know? And I like how she smoothed it out with the crawl down. So, and this is just my preference. I just feel that a lot of her movement does look marked. I don't know if it's because they're just going through it or whatever, but because it's recorded and we're seeing it, I'm just going to treat it like, this is their performance. I think that it's really low on power. I like the choice of dropping twice, but it just boom, hold. Like there's no reason to it just felt very stagnant of holds. Like it didn't feel as intentional whenever there's other things that you can do. Like I really feel like the pocket of the song doesn't really call for those types of, I call it like elementary holds. Is really what it feels like. And I hate to use that terminology for this. Like that right there, smoke you. Like, I think it's because she's not presenting or giving anything whenever she's holding. That's what I mean by like elementary holds. It's like there's like elementary holds where you're holding and you're not giving any energy, or you're not representing why you're choosing to hold there. And then there's like more of that golden era, or not golden era, like just how you choose to carry. Like there's presence and essence. There's like more of an advanced elite quality of essence or mature essence that really comes across as, I'm choosing to be here, but I could totally pop off right now, but I'm choosing to be here and this is the best choice and I'm showing you why. Like there's a difference there in how you choose to hold yourself. And I just feel like when she's holding, she's not giving me presence or giving performance quality that justifies the hold. I think that's what I mean. Like that right there, regardless if this is her genre, she does have a lot of choreographic experience. I'm assuming that this is educated guess here. I'm guessing that she may not really explore with this genre of music or choreograph for this genre of music nearly as much as she does more of the femme styles, or more like that upbeat K-pop or like that BADA K-pop aesthetic. So that's just my assumption. It just feels very much like she's just pulling arms and not really investing in the pocket of how you're supposed to approach a song like this. So for me, I mean, I would put this one right there with MANNEQUEEN. Probably, I would put it probably right by LADYBOUNCE. But I would say the one that's closest to something I would choose would be TSUBAKILL's at this point in time. All right, so we have from DEEPNDAP, we got MINA MYOUNG. I like that she chose the simplest. I think it's interesting that everybody chose to do like a smoking, but it makes sense because that's the name of the song. Ooh. I loved that from Mina. That was really nice. Yay for her. I loved what she did. Let's talk about this setup here. This intro was really nice. She's hitting all the beats, but it's kind of the way it makes it feel like do your own thing, which is really nice. Gives you time to establish what we're listening to. Melt it down. I love that. She used the thumb too. I love that. And when she ran forward, like I like the pockets she's choosing. It could be because of what she's wearing, but I really like her connection of her moves here. Yeah, it's just fun because there's little pockets of little grooves where you can catch back in the rhythm, but there's a lot of options that she's exploring here. Like it's captivating to watch, and it matches the vibe really well. That's too boom, boom. I love that. And it's traveling, but it's not traveling so aggressively that it's out of frame. You know what I mean? Because remember, it's normally like you're gonna film in like a short kind of vibe. But also we know too, they ended up filming this as a concept video, which we get, but also part of it is people are going to want to replicate it. That's so that I'm mostly focusing on the replication side more so than the concept side, because they know that this is going to be replicated, you know, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that. But we do know they get a concept out of it. I love that. Da, 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 hit. Like that's nice. Like she made really good choices. That was sweet. I love that. Those are little things I'm talking about. Like it makes sense what she's going for, but also it gives me something memorable. Like you want to have those memorable moments within your key point choreo, and that was one of them for me. Took that, boom. I wish she took it instead of here because it looked like a piece of gum versus an actual cigarette, but or joint or whatever. So I'm assuming like whenever, I think that's my only note, is that she grabbed it from here and threw it down. It looked like I just spit out some gum instead of here. It's one small thing, but honestly, I love everything else about it. Love that. She takes it and she covers it. Love that. Okay, I would say Mina's at the top of my list right now. That's mad impressive. If you've seen me react to anything from DEEPNDAP, I would say the first choreography I've seen from them that I was like, oh my gosh, I actually really like was their Mega Crew. So there's been a lot that's happened that I was like, oh, this just ain't it. And I'm really seeing more and more of things that I like from DEEPNDAP, which is really, really nice. So yeah, mad impressed with what Mina put here, for real. That was really nice. Okay, Kirsten from Jam. Love this pocket there. I feel like I love this ending there. I will say I feel like she repeated a groove in this though. We'll see. Going here, I love how she set this up. It's a great pocket. I think my overall note for this one, it's probably really difficult to replicate if you don't have this pocket or this groove, really. So when you think about how she's hitting it, it has, you know, it's really powerful, but also her grooves have a really heavy Afro dance hall influence, more Afro. But this track is more hip hop, you know, so I would say like new school hip hop. So I would say that groove with this sound can clash a little bit, not in a bad way, but in like a sense that it would be really difficult to replicate unless you have an implicit knowledge of this type of pocket. Like, I love this. I love the build up, which is really nice. Love the reverb, boom, and then 2. I like how she hits boom, boom, boom. I think it was that move, her feet. Look at her feet here. This is fine. 2. Okay, so she had to separate it where she dug, so that's fine. Never mind. That right there. So when she switched to each side, it wasn't really focused on the feet when I first watched it in comparison to what she did in the upper half, but it does look very similar to a groove that she chose to do near the end. I love the hinge. I really feel like there it is right there. That's what I'm talking about. We've already seen that near the end. Love that. That's so fun. Boom, boom, boom. But remember, we already saw like a slower version of this groove as she came up. near the beginning. Let's actually verify that. Look, she goes. That right there. So it's very connected, and she hits other like little pockets with this. I like the bass. Boom, here, wow. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2. Okay, so she isolates the head, but you see this kind of swinging of the legs and the hips and everything. She's really riding really similar pockets, which is really tricky to be able to distinguish and separate. Okay, this is a part of the dance, this is a part of the dance too. Like, it's not as clear. And there's a lot of things that are meshing together, which looks cool and it works. But when you think about the overall context of the challenge, it is really difficult to replicate. And also imagining this doesn't quite match the aesthetic of the song either. I love that boom, 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 boom. And then she digs deeper. There, right there. So she repeated the same groove, which is, for me, it's a... I wonder if she did that on purpose. I mean, regardless, I just think that you want to avoid repeating grooves, especially like actual footwork or moves themselves. You want to avoid repeating them, because unless it makes sense with the music, which it could very well here, because sometimes it just looks like a placeholder for your choreo. And you want all parts of your choreo to be cohesive in some way, of course, but all in all, I just feel that with this, I really like Kirsten doing it. However, would anybody else be able to do it? I think it would be really hard for everyone else to do it in the time frame that it would have been. However, I would also say too that part of the challenge is, if by getting your choreo picked, people have to learn it, so you have to factor in how replicable this is. And we've already talked about, it's not always about which choreo's best, like which one looks the best, because hers looks freaking dope. I love it. Does it match the challenge criteria that maybe is not discussed as criteria, but it's like passive criteria that everybody knows from the first season? I don't think it quite matches that criteria, because you have to look at what happens after a choreo is chosen, if that makes sense. So that's no hate. I'm literally not hating on anybody's choreo. I've never hated on anybody's choreo. I'm just saying there's holes, or there's areas that could have been refined that would have matched the criteria better. That's all I'm saying. Love that ending. I wish there was a moment like that happened near the middle, or in a different section besides just the end. I really love that though. That was great. And now we're going to BADA. So, let me rank hers. I personally, I would put Kirsten's under DEEPNDAP but above SUBAKILL. So I like that. So I'll put Jam right there. Okay, now this is BADA. I'm curious how she's gonna do it right here. Da 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 da, boom, boom. Okay, so looking at BADA's here, I feel it is pretty, I mean, I really like what she did, obviously, like, I really do. Her setup's really nice, it's subtle, you can choose how you want to approach it. I will say she's the only one that I actually noticed that sound. I ain't never heard that until I actually watched it right here. That's wild. I really love how she resists in the torso there. It's nice. It's a different pocket of exploration. This is a good example of, yeah, she did it on both sides, but she didn't hang there for too long, and it was an interesting groove that she chose to hit. An interesting texture or technique that she chose there to repeat versus one that we've seen before, which I really like. Yeah, and it's moments, like there's a lot of speed changes that look really nice. Yeah, so doom doom dun 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 dun. So instead of just hitting the same level, she's creating different levels within her choreo, which is really nice. and having moments where you can showcase your femininity, showcase your rigidness, showcase your grunge aesthetic. So like there's so much that you can showcase with this choreo where there's something for everybody. It's really what it feels like, which I like that. Like there's a lot of moments where you can showcase yourself and still do choreo, which I really like, and I think that's really helpful in this type of challenge, because you have 7 other people besides yourself that is in it, so you want them all to feel like they get to showcase themselves, and you want it to look desirable to learn, as well as you want it to be where you can feature people and no one's gonna stick out like a sore thumb. Like there's ways, there's stuff in your choreo where at the end of the day there's at least something that somebody feels like they can be strong at. I think is a really big indicator here, which I really like. I like that boom, boom, boom. I wish, however, I know she kind of broke it down. I wish it was more of an isolated thing. That would have been really cool. I think there's just some of how she's hitting some of her textures that aren't as clear as I feel like they could have been, but I wonder if she refined it as they did the concept or as they made the actual smoke challenge. So I love that. Like it's fun. I feels like I'm listening to the personality of the person. I love this wordplay. She grabs, brings it around. So you grab, bring it around behind. My only note there is that if you're gonna grab something and make it look like you're throwing it behind your back to relight, then I would try to keep that position where you catch it, don't release it. And you know what I'm saying? Like that would just be my note. I don't know if that was her intention, but when you look here, smoke you, boom, 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 blah, 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 and yeah, so she goes around and then she puts it behind her head and then she lights it up. So, and then I do like, she has multiple key points that are really like, that are memorable. Like this part right here, that was nice. I would say even this part, whew, you know, so she has multiple key point sections that really help make it look very memorable, and that's what you want to. So I would personally pick BADA's as well, but I will say I really liked Mina's from DEEPNDAP. I did. And I was not, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't planning on liking hers out of everybody, but I think she did a really good job with her choreo. And I would say Kirsten, I loved hers, but I feel like it didn't quite match the criteria of the overall encompassment of what the challenge was. I feel like with TSUBAKILL, I liked hers, but some of her grooves felt like the pocket kept repeating and it made it a mesh a little too much, which I would also agree would be Jam's, would be Kirsten's as well, AKANEN. And then LADYBOUNCE, LADYBOUNCE and 1 mil, I feel like with there's content, I feel like there was something left to be desired. I would say with Leah, with 1 mil, what she brought to the table was, I mean, it was decent content, but I feel like it was very simple in whenever she chose to be still. Like it wasn't cohesive all the way through, which is something that you need to have for a challenge like this. And then with LADYBOUNCE, hers was more so, she picked overly saturated grooves, like grooves we've already been exposed to a lot. She chose those to repeat versus like more rare grooves, or like grooves that aren't normally used to repeat. And I think that's something that BADA did that really helps too, is what she chose to repeat are not grooves that are normally done, or the stereotypical like basic moves that you would normally repeat on both sides. I think that was my thing. And then with MANNEQUEEN, I feel like she overly complicated the beginning, just like 1 mil. I feel she overly complicated her beginning. And then Wolflow, I felt like just overall it was way too simplistic for the challenge, and it felt I didn't feel like she branched out at all. She really stuck in what was safe. It felt very safe, I think. So that's my overall ranking that I would give these. Does it really matter? No. I think this is fun. It's nice to watch these. And I'm glad I'm able to have time to actually react to them. And I am glad that they went with who they went with. I think hers was definitely one of the top 3, and definitely the best one to go with for everybody. I feel like everybody was able to do this one effectively to some degree. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful in some way. If you want more Street Woman content, I do have all of that all available on my Patreon. Normally my Patreon is about a week to 2 weeks ahead of the video releases in comparison to YouTube. So if you definitely want to see the K-pop challenge or Mega Cruise or any of those things earlier than when you see it here on YouTube, you can go check it out over there. You get ad-free content and early access, and there's other opportunities if you want to recommend particular battles or dance routines that you really want me to take a look at, and with an analytic lens I can do that too. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.